Hello, everybody. I've decided that we're gonna do some sort of a different way about handling maybe future pro wrestling thoughts and reviews from my end. Usually, I would type these out and kind of export these into communities with like as a PDF for people to read on their own leisure. But I've decided it's getting to be more time consuming to write all that out, and I'm in a situation where right now I don't have as much time as I'd like. So instead of doing that, we're going to talk about the last weekend's wrestling events, both WWE Wrestlepalooza and AEW's All Out. My thoughts, and what you see here on the screen is I'm gonna I want to give a fan's perspective of my overall differences between the two shows, but I also I'm going to use this as kind of a formula layout of the finer points of what I want to talk about, which this editorial here by Akash, oh man, I hate butchering names, Akash Dakite. I think that's how you say their name. Either way, they pretty much spoke on pretty much all the points that I wanted to make, or I wanted to at least mention that is frustrating pro wrestling fans, but also more so why I think AEW's kind of looking really like a much more attractive option when it comes to watching pro wrestling as opposed to WWE at the moment. Um, so let's kind of start off as a fan perspective. My overall thoughts of both shows. WWE Wrestlepalooza, 3 hour show, 5 matches, and so much hype went into this. So much chicanery, so much um basically they're opening their PLEs now to the ESPN model. They're doing everything on ESPN Plus now. No more Peacock. We've moved on. At least if you're in the US. If you're outside the US, you're watching it through Netflix, which is awesome because nothing changed for you guys. Good job. But for all of us in the US now, we have to watch it through ESPN Plus, and I'll go on more about that here in a bit. But overall, I personally didn't watch it through ESPN Plus. I'm not going to say how I watched it, but I watched the show. It was kind of a show of mediocrity, in my opinion. We started off with the Bronze versus the Usos, and honestly, it could have been a Raw main event. Wasn't all that appealing. And then Jey Uso decides to bust his own face open because the man was super gassed and reckless, and decided to get himself, you know, basically put himself in a situation where that happened, and was not careful. And accidents happen in pro wrestling, but I've never seen anything like that in like quite some time. So that was very unique. But overall, the match was what you would just expect to finish up Raw or SmackDown. Like, it wasn't really. Usually, there's some hot matches that get you going in a pay per view and be like, man, I can't wait to see the rest of the show. This match didn't do that for me. I mean, it was a solid, okay match, but like I said, nothing that made me go, wow, I'm super happy to be watching this. After that, we had man, I really need to see the um what was next. Well, I thought I had the card like memorized in my head. I'm just looking up the results here. Oh wait. I feel bad. This is how bad, or this is how the show was for me. They started the show with John Cena and Brock Lesnar. This Never mind what I said, because this is the show that opened the match. Um why I completely forgot it opened the match, because it was forgettable. Outside of like some cool like entrances for John Cena, and I mean, you saw Brock Lesnar come out and he looked ripped as hell. He is he looks intimidating, someone you just don't genuinely want to fuck with. But yeah, John Cena came out, had all the kids on the ramp, was real cool. But the match was forgettable. Okay, it was a one-sided Brock Lesnar affair. Lesnar basically did his thing, beat the crap out of John Cena, and I'm like, okay, is this going to lead to something? Because I don't give a shit about this match if it's not going to lead to something. Now I'm hearing reports that it's not going to lead to anything, which is, kind of the hindsight of doing this a few days after the events, to hear about some fallout or future plans. They're not going to follow up on this from what I hear or do anything in the future. Like, this is, that's immediately why I just completely forgot about this match as I started the video. Because to me, it was a throwaway match that doesn't matter. It, I mean, for what it was C grade at best. Brock Lesnar came in, he was dominant, beat up John Cena again. Whoop-de-doo. Beating up John Cena's always been something enjoyable we've enjoyed watching over the years, but, at this point, it's John Cena's farewell tour. That's not exactly what I want to see. John's been killing it with, like, all these awesome Super Cena matches as of late, and for him to just come in and get destroyed by Brock Lesnar, maybe that was the point, to show Brock Lesnar's, like, dominance compared to the rest of the roster, because Cena's been killing it. But in the end of the day, it's not what I want to see. With Cena only having a few matches left, this I felt was a waste. Which is why I just completely eradicated it from my mind. So now you can just make fun of me for completely dismissing the actual opener of the show and thinking the Braun Uso match was the opener of the show, which it wasn't. But by that time, I don't know. I just wasn't already. The first match already put me in a position where I was showing growing pains, like a growing apathetic like disposition towards the product. Now it's like this match still wasn't doing it for me either. Great. We move on. Next match, Io Sky, Stephanie Vakir tore the house down. This was the best match on the show by far. And they told a fun story of how competitive they were for the first half. Second half, Io bangs up her knee, and basically, while selling the knee, is also trying to take risk to try to put Vakir away, and the risks are costly. And Vakir wins the title. Awesome. They went ahead, they took that rocket, they strapped it on the back of Vakir and said, go for it. Go for it. They're pushing her to the moon, and rightly so. Maybe they obviously, this was going to happen down the road eventually, but now with Naomi's pregnancy, this got sped up a little bit. Let's see if I can. There we go. I figured maybe the light coming in from the back's bright enough. So, yeah. So Stephanie Vakir with the win. It was a very entertaining match. I had a great time with it, and yeah, and then of course it went downhill from there. CM Punk, AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Now this got so much hype. One, I was never like a super AJ Lee fan of any sort, and the fact they made this woman sound like she was a bigger, like as much hype as she was getting, as much promotion, and as much as people have remarked and have made posts about on the internet or wherever, saying they all wish AJ Lee would come back. We want more AJ Lee. We want to see more AJ Lee. If Punk come back, why can't AJ Lee? Well, they finally got their wish. And people are super excited about the fact that she came back. My overall thoughts was big fucking deal. I get AJ Lee helped pave the way for the women's revolution or whatever. Fair. But to me, they hyped her like it was like the next coming of The Rock or Stone Cold or Hulk Hogan, or another John Cena. Like, she had so much hype wrapped around her return. And I'm just like, I get it. I think maybe for the women it's there. I get it. Or maybe for advocates of mental health or the things that she defends and she fights for, I get it. Maybe. Considering I don't want to say I don't give a crap about any of those things, but none of those things appeal or have a relevance within my particular life. So as a fan, with saying that, AJ Lee didn't really, you know, didn't really get me invested any more than say any normal other return. So, but this the hype leading into this match, I mean, come on, you would have thought this was gonna be the main event, and the way I mean, this match was gonna be an attraction match, right? There's no way you can legit pull off a good in-ring match with one intergender. And when I say intergender, I mean by WWE standards, intergender. I'm not saying what you see in the indies. I'm not saying elsewhere. Intergender in WWE is an attraction match. Not you can't do a legit match. That's tells a legit like pro wrestling story. It has to be an attraction. But with that said, I figured this would have been the main event because of how much hype there was. It was not, and we'll mention that in a bit. But at the end of the day, I think this match overstayed its welcome. Way too long. You could have added probably another 5-10 minutes to Cody and Drew and made this one less time, and I would have probably enjoyed it more. Because the first 10-15 minutes of it was a complete bore fest. I just was like, okay, let's go. And we'll go over just in a general sense that WWE's pacing is becoming more of a drag your feet fest. When I kind of talk about the finer points of like the weekend shows, but the overall, like, the attraction in itself was not that bad. It was entertaining for what it was supposed to be. It just took way too long to get there, and I just was like I fell asleep. I had to wake up, turn on the match, and rewatch it because of how boring the first 10, 20 minutes were. 10, 15, whatever. It just way longer than what it should have been. Overstayed its welcome. Final match, Cody, Drew. Could have been longer, as I said. And, you know, I get why they keep wanting to keep the title on Cody, but when is Drew going to get his title back and give him a legit run? Drew McIntyre is one of the best things going. When I turn on WWE, I want to see Drew McIntyre and what he's going to do next. So does, I think, everyone else in the wrestling community. I mean, Cody's great and all. You're wrong. But he's almost to the point. Yeah, I apologize about this stupid. I'm going to try to, before we do this again, I'm going to try to get that dealt with because that is super annoying. Normally I stream at night and that is pretty dark, so I don't normally deal with that. So streaming during the day like this is very, it's very distracting. So I will deal with that hopefully in the future if we do these videos again. But more about Drew and Cody. So yeah, I think I'm just tired of the. I think I'm ready for Cody to do something more. Just move on, do something different. Like, I would have been happy with him dropping the title here. Maybe Randy Orton getting involved. You know, I just don't know. Sometimes I really wonder. Like, sometimes you want to have these big shows that you're paying extra for, and I might go over this a little more later, but these are shows set up, hyped up, and they're supposed to be like the attention grabbing, the big shows of the month, the the main course for everything else, that all the shit you've been eating up until this point. Like, I'm supposed to get some, if I'm investing in this product and I want to watch this, this annually. When these shows come up, I want to see some shebang. I'm I want people to get, prove to me why I'm investing more money into watching this show. And I was expecting some sort of like swerve, some sort of betrayal, some sort of. We got nothing. We got Cody, hand raised, and as they used to say in the industry, Hogan must pose. So it's basically Cody must pose. Um, and yeah, they just didn't do much more. It was pretty Cody just winning pretty clean. I want more for Drew McIntyre. I just am so tired of him basically constantly having the come up next in line to just keep the champions looking good, and he just eats more shit. And he's great with everything they give him. Everything they give Drew is great. Like the last few years of Drew have been phenomenal. Thankfully. I mean, Vince didn't really do great with him or didn't use him all that well, but ever since like Triple H took over, Drew has been on par with one of the better wrestlers I enjoy watching. I'm hoping that sometime down the road he gets his run, and a legit run at that, not a 5-second debacle. But time will tell that'll ever happen. But overall, the match was a typical Cody title match without being too extravagant. And yeah, it just, I don't know. Given, I was just already at the point where I was ready for the event to end. Like between all the commercials, like, they filled the show full of so many commercials and so much like filler of promotion and every other type of thing, like promo where like little segments here and this, like acknowledging certain people in the crowd. Like they fill the fucking show so much of this shit. And I'm just like, literally I spend a good amount of the time during watching one of these shows hitting the fast forward button, because it's just bizarre how they feel, like how that they think they can keep a normal fan engaged and entertained, all the shit drizzled in between all the stuff we came to see. But yeah, overall I thought the event was kind of a dud, or just kind of meh, with the exception of Vakir and Sky. That was one of the best matches of the weekend, hands down. Shout out to Stephanie Vakir. She is a star. And shout out to Io Sky as well, because Io Sky is awesome. Like I said, they both tore it down. Now, let's shift gears. Let's go to AEW. Let's talk All Out. Let me bring up the All Out. I know you guys can't see the other window I got up, but I don't, not really necessary. It's just let me know the match cards, and I should have had this up before when we started, but it is what it is. All right. So I did not watch the 0 hour tailgate, so I'm not going to mention anything about that. I mean, granted, the 0 hour is much more entertaining than the pre-show that WWE does for all their shows now. Like, I really don't understand. Like, well, the only thing the pre-show is good for WWE is for anyone who doesn't watch it at all. Like, if all they do is watch the big shows and they don't watch any highlights, anything in between the big shows, that's where the pre-shows at least shine, because they will help you catch up and let you know what's been going on, because that's all it is. It's all hype and it's promotion for the show that's about to happen. So at that point, that's what they're good for, but they're not super entertaining for the actual casual wrestling or the fan that's been watching or keeping up with stuff. Nobody watches it. where at least at 0 hour, there's at least some entertainment for those who are waiting for the show to start, for the actual show to start for AEW. And, people who wouldn't normally get on the card, they're on the card being able to, do some stuff, which is cool. But yeah, so we're going to skip the 0 hour tailgate. Let's talk first match of AEW's All Out, which I thought was a well more executed, well more enjoyable show than Wrestlepalooza, mind you. Like, I ended this show thinking this was one of the funnest shows I've watched in a long time. I want to say part of that also was based on the complete apathy I ended up getting or developing for Wrestlepalooza. But this was like, cool. You're wrestling. You're on the fence about enjoying wrestling this weekend. Let us pull you in, and they gave me a show that I really enjoyed. Copeland and Cage started off against FTR. Great, solid tag match to open it up with. It's fun seeing Edge and Christian kind of doing their I'm saying Edge for those who don't really follow AEW as well and are reminded that yes, Edge is in AEW. Edge and Christian are kind of doing like they're finding different things. They're not completely leaning on old gimmicks and call outs and callbacks and shout outs to things that they did in the past all the time, like some older tag teams do when they come back together. They're finding new and different ways to, at their age and at where they're at in their careers, to still make themselves, entertaining and fun to watch. And I'm totally respect the fact of they're trying to at least, do something different than what most nostalgia tag team acts do. And I thought this match was a solid opener. Obviously, I didn't, based on how the match was going, I didn't think this was going to be a blow off. But it was a fun match through and through. Of course, the end of the match showed Copeland and Cage getting beat up by FTR, by the Wayne family. Beth, shout out to Beth for taking a very sick tag team spike pile driver off the top rope. Well, I'm trying to think of the way they say it, but it's when the guy jumps off the top rope while the other one has the person in the pile driver and they spike. Maybe it's just a general spike pile driver, like an elevated spike pile, a leverage spike pile driver. I don't know. Leverage. Such a funny word. Anyways, it was fun to see Beth get involved and beat the shit out of Stokely. Overall, match was enjoyable, and I'm like, cool, this was fun. Because I haven't personally been keeping up with AEW's TV shows, so like being able to kind of see the promos before the match, kind of catching me up a little bit, and because I've heard things here and there, but maybe I've seen a highlight or two, but I'm not like religiously watching these TV shows. There's just so much pro wrestling out there week to week to week that it's hard for me to keep up with everything. So, moving on, we got the Hurt Business, and MVP is actually wrestling in the ring, mind you. So MVP Shelton and Bobby versus Ricochet and I guess the Demand. I know they started doing a program with Ricochet and the Hurt Business. Ricochet basically, they're leaning off of when Ricochet was turned down for the Hurt Business, which hurt Ricochet's feelings. So he brought in the Gates of Agony, which is a team I've slept on all these years. I know they've been around Ring of Honor and like low card AEW stuff. And I'm just like, okay, well, to me, it was a name. It was a tag team that was there. They were a name. I didn't really look too much into them or didn't really give them too much a day. I've had a friend tell me I should invest a little more effort into giving them a look. And oh my God, Toa Leona and Bishop Khan, they're legit. They look like legit badasses. And they worked great with Ricochet. This match was fun to watch. You could just it was not, you could sense and enjoy, like, it was fun to see MVP do his thing, but you can sense that animosity between the two factions, which is the story they were telling, obviously. Um, but yeah, just props to Tia Leona and Bishop Khan. They got my attention. They were fun to watch. And I was like, holy shit, maybe the Gates of Agony are actually like legit. Like, I wish they pushed these guys more now, and I hope they do. Um, Maybe future AEW tag champs. I don't know. I think they should. Um, but either way, her business was fun to watch as usual. You would think for three guys who are almost 50 or 50 plus, this team could still go. It was still enjoyable. Like I said, they weren't. It's not like age slows them down, really. I mean, MVP, you could tell a little bit he was having a hard time getting around because of his legs. He was just a little bit was the selling, but also like the man's had multiple surgeries. He can only keep up, so he can only do so much, obviously. But it was fun to watch MVP in the ring because I've always enjoyed MVP in the past. I've one of my let's just say he's one of the people in the wrestling business I fully respect, like more so than others, and I think he's got very interesting perspectives when it comes to practices within the business. So hopefully, the Hurt Business continues to be highlighted on AEW. I thought it was great that they brought the whole act from WWE to AEW. I mean, WWE shit the bed on the act. Like, they were starting to get over in WWE, and Vince was like, eh. So, kind of glad that they got to do what they wanted to do here, and it's been very enjoyable to have the Hurt Business here and the actual AEW fans support them. So, Ricochet as a heel, it's growing on me. Like I used to say for the last couple of years, especially in the tail run of his WWE tenure, Ricochet was one of the most overrated acts that there existed in the pro wrestling business. Um, People would always say, "Oh, Ricochet used to be great, or he could be phenomenal," and I'm like, watching him on WWE, I'm like, sucks. And part of like I get it, he don't fit the WWE system, but he also didn't lend himself to try to fit the system, and he's tried to make excuses. I get it. He's tried to tell people why it didn't work out, and maybe there's a reason, and those reasons could be legit, but like, I mean, it's you do the most with the opportunities you're given, and there's some people I've seen who got smaller opportunities than he did and were able to excel to the main event level, and there's people who had just as much opportunities like he did and just flamed out like he did. So, but I'm like he's kind of found his groove in AEW, so to speak, and he's been much more entertaining of a personality. I still don't like his stupid laugh. I think it's absurd, but whatever. Overall, he's fun to watch get beat up, which if that's how he helps put people over, and that's how that's the role he's happy to take, I'm willing to watch it. So, um, and let me mind you, this is going to be a little longer of a list for those of you who don't really watch AEW. They actually have pro wrestling on through the entirety of their show, unlike WWE. So I'll be talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 matches. Yeah. Um. See, I thought they were gonna have these in order from. I'm gonna have to scroll down. There we go. So yeah, the list I was looking at, I thought they were in order of when they happened on the card. They were not. So I'm having to scroll down the page here to see the actual order. After the opener with Christian and Ed, Christian and Edge, it was Eddie Kingston versus Big Bill. basically the idea is Tony Khan wanted to have a reason to bring back Eddie Kingston and on pay-per-view. Eddie Kingston's been out for 16 months of injury and rehab um, for multiple knee injuries, I believe. The I don't know for those of you who are Eddie Kingston fans or not. To me, I don't mind Eddie Kingston as a character. He's a little hard to watch in the ring, but as a character, I like him. Um, there's always got to be that one character who's who's downright gritty, who's real, who's you know basically will kind of be the guy who's got to get in your face. He's from the streets, this and that. Right now, TNA has Santana. Um, AEW has Eddie Kingston. Forget who fills that role in WWE. I feel like someone fills that role in WWE right now, but I don't know off the top of my head who that is, if there is any, honestly. Um, WWE doesn't like super down to earth real characters, so at least not this time. So I'm struggling to think about that. But yeah, this was not much of a match, honestly. This was easily the worst match on the show. Uh, and I think part of it is just Kingston trying to, get his groove back. Big Bill is also like 7 foot tall and kind of intimidating. Like, I get why they went with Big Bill because he's also from New York, and they want to have two guys from New York go at it to kind of show that Eddie Kingston is the king of New York. But it was for what it was. It was fine. It wasn't super long for the match that it was. It wasn't super long, and it helped make Eddie Kingston like look it pretty decent on his comeback. And then of course we got to see Hook showing that good to see Hook back and doing his thing, but Hook is fully supporting Eddie Kingston going forward. And Hook, hopefully maybe when Hook's back in the ring, he's not wearing those goddamn shorts. He's actually wearing other attire. I've always thought Hook's presentation was like kind of he's small. He's thin, he's small. So you need to kind of you never want to wear shit that makes you look smaller than what you already are. And that's part of Hook's problem in my mind is that he wears certain apparel that makes you see him smaller than what he is. So he needs to start wrestling in street clothes or I don't know what, but he just quit with the fucking shorts. Not my thing. But anyways, overall, the match was serviceable. We move on. It wasn't long. MJF versus Mark Briscoe in a tables and tax match. This was a lot of fun. Briscoe and MJF been in a feud for a good few months now. Basically, MJF disparaging Mark's late brother Jay. Basically, one of the infamous promos during the run or during this feud was basically MJF telling Mark that it should have been him instead of Jay that was in that accident, which is pretty that's on par with MJF being fucking just downright what that character normally is. So it's I mean there's words I could come up with or I could say about MJF, but yeah, it was disgusting. Either way, the match itself, lots of fun. Yeah, they sold the idea of MJF really not wanting to get too into the tax. But when he could take advantage, he was using those tacks to really punish Mark Briscoe. Briscoe was bumping all over those tacks. He fucking loved it. Excuse me. Either way, overall, like I said, great match, enjoyable. And it was I was glad to see Mark come out on top. Which, for this feud, it makes sense to keep pushing Mark. I want to see Mark win the AEW World title. He doesn't have to hold on to it long, but I want to see him win it. Yes, let's go. Shout out to, MJF for the work schedule he's been doing. I mean, he just recently married. He had an awesome match in CMLL the night before with Mystico, I believe. He's been doing a bunch of stuff for like shooting movies and stuff in between. Like, guy's all over the place. He is working his ass off, and he should rightfully do so. He's do it while he's young and get the work in and get his feelers everywhere. The man understands the business, and he's really getting his name out there. Honestly, if WWE does not try to snatch him up when his contract expires again, they drop the ball. Because MJF has done so much for AEW and really getting AEW's best, like a lot of AEW's best feuds. I'm not gonna lie, if I had to list, MJF's in quite a few of those listings. So hopefully, we get to see him, Mark Briscoe, get to where he needs to be in MJF. I'm just glad he's around. Lot of good stuff there. The Hurt Syndicate and Demand was after that match. We already kind of talked about that after I realized the list was out of order. Or I should say before I realized the list was out of order. Mercedes Moné and Riho was after the Hurt Syndicate match. This match wasn't bad. It was I think the women were kind of trying to hold themselves back a little bit and not go too like they're not trying to do they're not I wonder if they were gonna maybe revisit this match down the road. But yeah, it just seemed like they weren't trying to go super all out like I've seen in some of Mercedes matches. But it's like I said, it was a fine match. It was definitely not like I still was holding hope that maybe Riho would maybe win the title, but because I'm at the point where I'm ready to see Mercedes Moné just get off the TBS title. Like, you are the probably gonna, and it's probably gonna happen soon, based on what I'm gonna read down later on the card. But overall, this was an entertaining match. Definitely wasn't bad. If I had to say, it could have been a Dynamite main event. But either way, it was fine for what it was, and Mercedes Moné is still the champ. Do I still say Mercedes Moné is still the most overrated women's wrestler in all of professional wrestling? Yeah, I still believe that. Don't get me wrong, Mercedes Moné is not that bad in the ring. She's enjoyable. She can either do she could do okay to, if she has a good partner to work with in the ring, she can have a phenomenal match. If she has someone who, say a Britt Baker, who kind of just drags her heels in the ring, Mercedes Moné can only do so much, and then the match just kind of whatever. Rio, luckily, was a pretty good partner with her, but I feel like they were not trying to do certain things, or they were trying to hold back a little bit, which is fine. You don't want, the thing I've always known about AEW in the past, or certain like AEW shows, is that it feels like everyone on the show keeps like trying to go full out every freaking match, and at the end of the day, it's like, okay, not every match can be the 5-star match. Like, some of these matches could have been shorter. Here, yeah, the match could have been a little shorter, but again, they weren't trying to like be the fucking 5-star match here, and that's fine. Don't want to waste more time on Mercedes Moné than I already did. One of the best matches of the weekend: Okada, Takeshita, and Dorada for the what's the name of this fucking title? I'm trying to find the name of the title, because it's the international and the continental title combined. Not, it doesn't quite say it here what the title is now. But either way, this was super good. Like, there's developing tension between Okada and Takeshita within the Don Callis family. Dorada just happens to be the third man who qualified for the event, but man, Dorada was awesome. If you've never seen Mascara Dorada before, this will sell you on Mascara Dorada. Phenomenal. Awesome. Great worker in the ring. Just hands down, the lightning in a bottle idiom works here. Okada's nonchalantness with Takeshita's intensity, and Dorada just constantly being that fly that gets in everyone's way. Phenomenal match, hands down. Is it the match of the night? I want to say, to me, this was the match of the night. I really, like I said, it was a lot of fun. Great time, great match. At the end of the day, Okada won the match. Someone has to win it, right? And still pushing more tension between Takeshita and Okada. I like where they're going with that, because if it's to help push Takeshita into the moon as a overall big babyface, I'm a huge Takeshita fan. Like, I've been like hoping they do something with Takeshita, like, down the road. I think he could be one of their biggest stars. You know, Okada was already super big from Japan, and they brought him in and, you know, placed him like so. But like, Takeshita wasn't as big. They brought him in, and he's been growing and growing in popularity the longer he's been here. He's had great matches. He's had, you know, and the thing is, I think he's like like, from what I said, he's a good person. He's, you know, a lot of respect for people backstage, and I wish all the world for Takeshita. I really hope they put him in a position where he ends up being the AEW champ, because I think he's earned it. He is deserving of it. But I don't want to say too much about the sequences of the match or anything like that, but if there is one match you go back and watch from AEW's All Out, this is the match. Phenomenal. After this, we had Moxley versus Darby Allin. Coffin match. Basically, Death Riders doing their thing, and Darby Allin's come to basically seek justice and redemption and, you know, revenge on all the things the Death Riders did to AEW while Darby took time off. And yeah, so Darby, you know, the lead up to this, Darby's being a pest, being, you know, doing shit that's pissing off the Death Riders. So they have a coffin match here. This match was fucking brutal. And when I say brutal, you had Darby constantly chomping and biting in the Moxley's ear. Yes, Moxley blood. And he kept going at it several times, like, and he was like legit bleeding from the ear after the bites. Like, he was fucking going hard at it. So sorry, I was just distracted by something on the screen. But overall, just this was a fun, like, it's always fun to watch Darby Allin go through the car crashes he does. I think that's what endears me to him, because he just gets back up from all that and continues on to be Darby Allin. And this is no different. There was, like I said, there were some brutal spots, and then there's some post-match stuff afterwards, which kind of follow up after this match. But like, this was like the quintessential Darby Allin coffin match, and just like the quintessential Moxley hardcore match, all wrapped up in a bow. And yeah, I thought the tag match was a bit brutal. This topped the tag match in my mind a little bit. So overall, this would also be, if you're into some hardcore matches or you like to see some hard hitting stuff. Also, we had a really awesome return to Pac. Pac has been away on injury. He shows up to kind of help the Death Riders get the edge over Darby Allin. But it was good to see Pac back. Different look too. He's going with a different look, which I kind of like because I was getting so tired of his look that he still had from back in 205 Live WWE. So um, glad he's doing something new. But overall, I don't want to speak too much on the match. Just know it is a bit brutal. And I definitely enjoyed it. We had Toni Storm defending her title against Thekla, Jimmy Hayter, and Chris Statlander. Um, Basically, this gave me probably my favorite meme of the night when Toni Storm caught Thekla doing her spider like Bray Wyatt like her spider like dance, whatever. I don't know what to call it. It's her spider dance. And Toni Storm came out and she's like, I hate bugs, and just stopped the shit out of the Kucha fucking Thekla. It was great. Um but like overall this was a pretty fast paced match. Everybody coming in back and forth doing stuff. The end of the day, Chris Statlander is the winner and ends up getting her first AEW Women's World Title. Um, my thoughts on personal thoughts on Statlander is just kind of mid. I don't know why people find her such a big deal. I get it; she's like a AEW original in a sense, but like nothing about Chris Statlander's ever made me go, man, this woman is awesome, and I want to see more of her. I get it; she's taller, she's bigger, um, and the name sounds cool. But like nothing about Statlander has ever really made me go, I want to see more of her. She's had some good matches and she's been in some weird feuds. They've also swapped her like affinity, whether she's a face or a heel, so often. Like I always kind of refer to her as the AEW's version of Big Show. Because like if you need Chris Statlander to be a heel, she's like immediately a heel. If you need her to be a face, she's a face. It just it just seems like her role to the audience just seems to flip flop so often. I just never know. Every time I watch AEW some more. It's like, oh, Statlander, she's a face again. Oh, now she's a heel. Oh, now she's a face. Oh, now she's a heel again. Like it is what it is. But like she's a good utility player for them to use, and yeah, she's never been the champ until now, which is like the world champ until now, which is good because she's deserving of it. Um, I mean, I figure as hard as she's worked for that company and what she's done and the people she's put over, and sorry, my throat's getting a little dry. Yeah, like sure, a short run with the title should be fine. They keep teasing Wheeler Yuta like the Wheeler Yuta stuff too with Statlander. He was out there talking with her before the match. Not sure where that's going, and I'm not sure where that kind of came out of because, like I said, I've been watching the weekly product. But speaking of Yuta, all the Death Riders came out during the Death Rider match. They didn't interfere. They just kind of did. They were around, and then they all left. And Wheeler Yuta probably had one of the more profound chants of the night. He's really hated by the fans. Like people really hate Wheeler Yuta. Um, and it was based on some stuff he did a couple months back. But like, he went from not people not giving a shit about Yuta or wishing he would just go away to we hate Yuta now. So good shit. Um, The next match was a ladder match for tag team titles. Brodito, which is a great a great little mishmash of a team with Brody King and Bandito, defending against Young Bucks, Jet Speed, Don Callis family of Chichero and Alexander. Trying to think of his first name. The walking weapon or whatever his name is. Josh Alexander, sorry. So yeah, basically Hechichero and Josh Alexander of the Don Callis family made up the fourth team. This was a nice little ladder match. Lots of car crashes, like a ladder match should be. One thing I do want to note, and it was made apparent mostly because of what Brian. So if I'm going to say this now, for those of you who aren't aware, Bryan Danielson's on commentary more regularly, ever since he kind of retired from in-ring action. So sometimes I think Bryan Danielson points out the more obvious things that are going on in the match that everybody else is probably noticing but not saying, but he's saying it on commentary. People are close to the belts and getting to the top of the ladder and they're doing spots and they're not grabbing the fucking belt, which, yeah, that's a glaring omission, and that's something you have to like try to like not focus on when you're watching this match, because there's a couple of those times where people like are at the top of the ladder and they could probably just reach over and grab the fucking belts, but they just don't, and they do spots. And which has always been my annoyance with ladder matches in AEW, because this is not the first time I've noticed this. Probably won't be the last time, but that has always been something that's super annoying with AEW ladder matches in general, is that people are too focused on getting their stuff in or getting spots set up, and there's like no struggle for the belts. Like the way they have, like, I think they need to find a way to better like show like a struggle for the titles in the match or working towards it, as opposed to making it look like they're, you know, they're just doing basic setup for spots, which I know that's a tricky situation, but there's got to be a better way to go about it. That aside, it was a fun set of car crashes. So yeah, action all around, crazy, fun time. And like I said, if you don't look too hard at it, you will enjoy the match. It was a lot of fun, but like, yeah, I hate when Bryan Danielson's right. Like, he's right there. Grab the title. Oh man, leave it to Bryan Danielson to basically let you know that you're watching a fictional a fictional story. But overall, but by the way, let me also say, Brian, for the better or worse, Bryan Danielson on commentary is great, because he will help add context to matches that you don't normally get or you wouldn't normally see from most commentaries, and it's been really enjoyable. He kind of fills that role that Nigel McGuinness fills, and I think Nigel's gone right now for he's taking a family leave. I think I think they're expecting a kid or whatever, so I think that's coming. So he wasn't there at the show the entire night, so it was kind of cool to see Bryan Danielson, you know, being a commentator for my first time seeing him as a commentator. He was great. Except he was very biased, and that was something I wanted to mention about the Jon Moxley match. He was trying to be biased, but that entire time, like, eventually he just broke down and was just rooting for Darby. And he even gave Darby something during the match, because he said he wouldn't interfere in Darby's match in the lead up to the match, but he also gave Darby something in the match to be able to um, use against Moxley, which I thought was kind of cool. That basically Danielson still remembers and still cares about what Moxley did to him. Because officially, if people have been keeping up with AEW, Moxley is the one that retired Bryan Danielson. He beat Danielson for the title when Danielson won it, and he also basically beat the crap out of Danielson so bad that Danielson had to retire from the stuff Moxley did to him. But either way, it was it's just been a pleasure having Bryan Danielson at the commentary. It's just a pleasure to have Bryan Danielson on AEW in general. I think he's been more enjoyable to ever watch in AEW than he ever was in WWE. By far. I grew up watching Danielson and enjoying him in Ring of Honor, and in other indies prior to WWE. And of course, I enjoyed him in WWE too, but like, you know, saying that you enjoy a wrestler's work in WWE is saying, hey, yeah, I enjoy this Oreo milkshake from this mom and pop place, but you go to like Cold Stone, it's like, oh, it's way better. Because you know it's going to be better because it's Cold Stone. But anyways, back to AEW. The last match of the night, Adam Page versus Kyle Fletcher. This match was way better than I expected it to be. They went this route because they brought in Wardlow beating up Hangman last pay-per-view, and they were gonna for the Don Callis family, and they were gonna have Wardlow basically go against Hangman. And I have kind of a backseat like quarterback like booking idea of what they were probably gonna do with Wardlow, but Wardlow ended up tearing his pec. I think it was his pec, and getting injured again. So again, Wardlow gone. They had to put someone in the main event, and it was Fletcher. Fletcher's the current TNT champion, and yeah, this was hands down. Fletcher debuted a new intro to entrance music. It was cool. Overall, I thought this match was great between the two. Like, this was like, there was times in this match I really honestly thought they were going to put the fucking belt on Kyle Fletcher. I'm shitting you not. Like, they made me believe that Kyle Fletcher was probably going to beat Hangman Page here. At the end of the day, that's not what came to pass. But man, they made you believe that Kyle Fletcher was probably going to be the man. And given his overall, like, how he's been pushed, his look, based on, like, if you look at him from 2 years ago and like in Aussie Open with his former partner to now as a single star, he's phenomenal. He is the next, like, from the looks of it, he could be the next Randy Orton for AEW. Could be. We'll see though. But like, the man is, they continue to make him look like a star. He comes out acting like a star, and when you do that enough, people are going to believe you're a star. But it has to happen organically, and I think it's starting to work. I think it's starting to happen. He's putting in great matches too. Like I said, this is the best match I've ever seen Fletcher do. And every time I've watched Fletcher, I've always, like, in the past, I thought he had potential. It's like, if they figured out how to utilize this kid, he could be a main eventer. And this was before all the significant changes that he's done to his physique, to his look, to his presentation, to his in-ring skills, you name it. I'm like, sure, say I'm on the Kyle Fletcher bandwagon. I am. The man, it's been a phenomenal transition from where he's been to what he's doing now, and I'm excited to see where they go with it. But at the end of the day, Hangman and Page managed to keep the title. And that's how they end the show, basically. Um, there was a lot of good returns. I mentioned Pac earlier, but I won't say all the returns for those of you who still want to watch it. Like I said, I tried to not sit there and give away too much info between the matches. Because I want to leave something there for people who genuinely want to go back and watch this. But overall, it was a very enjoyable show. And I tell you what, I know it felt twice as long as like Wrestlepalooza, but it didn't. Or well, it is twice as long as Wrestlepalooza, or almost is, but it didn't feel like it because Wrestlepalooza just felt like it just was the show that would never end because of all the filler and bullshit that they put in between the matches. And not that in every entrance feels like it's got to take 5-10 minutes in WWE anymore. Every entrance. Not where AEW, it's like, yeah, there's an entrance, but it doesn't need to take all night. You know? Anywho. So now that I've said it, AEW, way better show, All Out, much more enjoyable than Wrestlepalooza. So let's talk about this thing here. So, as I said, there were several reasons why Wrestlepalooza wasn't as awesome as All Out. We're going to rehash some other points, and I'll go through them real quick. First of all, the ESPN bullshit, the subscription fiasco. Like, all of a sudden, WWE decides they're going to put all their pay-per-views behind a fucking paywall. Like, a huge paywall. Like, are you ridiculous? Like, where AEW, you need to have HBO Max subscription, but it's like you get to pay a little bit more and you get to watch AEW for the, you basically are paying for a show to watch. But it's only a little more based on top of the subscription you have, and it's right there. WWE's like, hey, we're on ESPN now. Fuck Peacock. If you gotta, and you need to have the premium ESPN package in order to watch us. You can't just have ESPN. And the price difference between the what is it called? Let me look at it here. Yeah, the price band between the select plan and the unlimited plan, because you need to have the unlimited plan to watch it, is a significant price difference. Like what, $18 difference? $18 fucking dollar difference to watch this. And you need to pay this every month. Oh my god. And it's just for PLEs. That's all you get out of it. You know, if you want to watch the library, you still go to Peacock. If you want to watch Raw, you gotta watch Netflix. If you want to watch SmackDown, you gotta watch cable. Like, at this point, it's getting too expensive to keep up with WWE. Like, it really is. Like, if you are a super loyal WWE fan, you are egregiously putting more and more money aside monthly for WWE or to keep up with WWE than you normally would even just a month ago. It's getting outright ridiculous. And I think one thing that Tony Khan can at least acknowledge is that, and I think he said, is that he's not going to price point his fucking audience out of not being able to see his show. Which I think even back in the day, I don't think Vince wouldn't have done this either. But TKO are all about money, and they have fervently said that on social media and in media and media scrubs and other interviews that they said Vince left money on the table. We're getting all that money, putting it in the bag, and taking it. Like, that's obviously they do not care about the fan base. They just figure, hey, if they really want to watch it, they're going to pay. And guess what? Here's the thing. When people really want stuff, they're still going to pay no matter what. And there's always, like, when they see that they set a price point and they sell out, they're just going to raise it. There's no decentivizing to raising prices when they keep selling out shit. Eventually, they might get to a point where shit don't sell out, and they're like, oh, well, maybe we raised the prices too high. But that's the problem. The more they sell out, the more it gets ridiculous they raise the prices. And eventually, they will hit a bottom, like a topping point. But once they do, they'll just go back a tier lower and be like, okay, we're just gonna keep it there because at least they sold out there, which is not gonna do anyone any favors. It just sucks. So people ask me, why don't I go to WWE shows? This is why. They just want money. They don't care about the audience. Um, um, again, they did a lot of hyping for Wrestlepalooza between ESPN deal, basically making it seem like it was going to be a whole new way of doing PLEs. They were going to, basically, it was going to be this whole shift in sports entertainment and this and that. And I just was like, this show really isn't offering anything different than any other mediocre show that's not one of the big 4 or 5 of the year. Like, this was the, like, they basically, you were sold on the hype when you went and watched Wrestlepalooza. Like, don't get me wrong, when I went to watch it, I knew it was not going to be as good because I am I follow pro wrestling and I knew better. A lot of other people who don't normally, either they're blinded by the love for WWE or they just are now getting into it because they you know, they're getting a lot more people's eyes on them because of the ESPN merger and people being, you know, not normally following pro wrestling because they're big sports fans are now like, this shit looks like it's improved, or it looks cool again to be a pro wrestling fan. And that's what the last few years have done, is, and it has shown ever since McMahon's more or less stepped down, and that's been kind of the thing they've been trying to do, is to show fans and other people it is cool again to be a pro wrestling fan. And that is kind of what they've been striving to do. So with them trying to reach to other places where they generally don't have audiences, this is, what they've been putting on the table in front of people. Hey, it's cool again. Be a pro wrestling fan. Enjoy the show. Be a fan. But it comes with a cost. Because, I feel like you can live off hype and hype alone. And eventually, you're going to burn too many bridges when you do this. So you want to know what's funny? AEW had been doing this with some of its stuff for a good few years in their earlier years, where they were living off hype after hype after hype. Oh, we're going to have this wrestler coming. Oh, we're going to have this wrestler coming. We got a big announcement coming up. And then we got another big announcement. Now, AEW still kind of does, every now and again, oh, we got a big announcement coming up, this sort of thing. But, it wasn't you couldn't go a month without hearing AEW saying, we got another huge acquisition. We got another huge thing to hype about. It just never ended. And it was just it was so much hype about their growth and what they were doing. Eventually, it bottomed out because at the end of the day, whatever they were hyping or whatever things that they kept, all the things they kept doing to get people's eyes on the show would just go right back away. And the disinterest would come back because they would just not follow through on that hype. Oh, yay, cool, you got Adam Cole. And then you're putting him in a mid-card feud. So, that's the sort of thing. And that's what I'm worried about WWE here, is so much overhypeness for it to just not pay off. At the end of the day, it's just oh, great. It's just, they didn't show up about the show. And then I watch the show. It's one good show, one good match in part of five matches, 5 fucking matches. I sat for 3 hours to watch 5 matches, which that's been their norm as of, within the last year or two. But it's, anywho. The build for Wrestlepalooza. AEW has been doing great with their builds for pay-per-views as of late. Don't get me wrong, not all of Tony Khan's bookings, grander or anything like that. I will not say that. But at least there's a lot more long-term booking that has been done for AEW. within the last year or two, and nods to other feuds they've done, or little, like, if you are an AEW fan, they have been doing a lot more to reward the long-term AEW fan. Um, and not only that, they've tried to do some seasonal, reasonable booking for at least, especially for the main title picture, because obviously Wardlow going down kind of sucked. So they had to do the Kyle Fletcher thing, which, in my mind was, I mean, I guess that's what you had to do. And I will explain their kind of booking dilemma in a bit, but like the build for WWE was for Wrestlepalooza just kind of sucked. It was just like, okay, we're just gonna have Brock Lesnar come fight John Cena. Why? And they didn't really give you a good reason why. It was just like, hey, we're just gonna fight or we're just gonna have a match at Wrestlepalooza. That's literally the build. And all the building, and this is kind of the shit Triple H booking has been getting lately, is that I get that some long-term story building is great, but not everything has to be long-term story building. Not everything. And that's been kind of like the shit that Triple H booking has been getting, is that he has put everything on the slow burner. Everything. And it's not wrong. People are not wrong. Like, it almost feels like for a payoff for every feud he's got going in WWE, I have to wait and watch for years and for months and months and months for a payoff. And it's like, and there's just certain shows you watch, like Wrestlepalooza for one, that you were expecting a swerve or a heel turn, or like a heel face turn, or some sort of like something to come and make spice things up, keep things interesting. And it's just Triple H and the creative spread things out so long, so far, and it's getting old. It's just getting old. Um, um, I will say that was the other thing that I think made AEW's show way better than WWE's. AEW had a huge variety of matches. Now, don't get me wrong, WWE's got less matches, but there could still be a variety. It just, there was no variety at all. I mean, there's a few hardcore elements brought into a match, but that was about it, right? It just felt very samey. Where in AEW it was like, cool. This next match is tables and tacks, cool. This next match is a 4-way, cool. This next match is a ladder match, cool. This next match is what was another one? A casket match, cool. Like, there's all these different gimmick matches. Could you say it's a little too much variety? Maybe. But a little too much variety is better than no variety. And that's what you got in WWE. Like, zero variety. It was just like you didn't give me a reason to make me really want to buy an ESPN subscription, which I still haven't yet. I mean, they were complaining about how the Usos and Braun match could have been on the Raw the next night and not on this card. Both companies do the same thing, honestly, you could have had Big Bill and Eddie Kingston come back. Like, he could have made his debut on Dynamite at the end of Dynamite and fight Big Bill. Or you could have had the Mercedes Moné Riho match be the main event of, like, Dynamite. Like, so I'm not really high on this point, but like, yeah, and it's just, there's always gonna be matches on cards sometimes where you're like, this could have been on the TV show, and rightfully so. But that's the trouble with booking sometimes when you're trying to fill out cards, is that sometimes you just can't have banger after banger after banger after banger. There's got to be some sort of match that kind of calms the crowd down, or at least lets, it gives the crowd a chance to, catch their breath, build some momentum, go use the restroom, whatever. Not to back in the day, there used to be more matches where it's like, okay, we know this is the match that's gonna suck. This is when we're taking our shit break. This is when we're gonna go get our nachos. This is when we're gonna go do the thing we need to do before we watch the main event. Blah 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 blah. There used to be a lot of that, no matter what wrestling you watched. Now the demand for good shows have come so far that wrestling companies make sure that there isn't any bullshit bullshit matches, or they try not to have bullshit matches. So at minimum, they're gonna give you a match that could have been on the TV show as a main event, as like the match that maybe if you want to leave, this is the match you go now. Where if you don't want to leave, you'll still be serviceably entertained, but if you do need to go do something, go do it. That's just what it is. I will say this about AEW doesn't really have this problem too much, and WWE's been trying not to do this as much, but they still do at times. WWE really does lean too much on like the star power of the stars from yesteryear or the yesterdecade, where AEW, while they do have legends on the roster, they don't feature. They're trying to get away from featuring them on the main event scene. Like, yeah, Edge and Christian were on the show, but they were the first to go, and they were nowhere near the main event scene, nor they were doing their own program. And it's a good program, but it's not the main event program, and it's not a reason you had to go watch it. Like, Cena and Brock Lesnar were on like the marquee for the freaking for this event. Like, it wasn't Cody or Drew McIntyre. It was Cena and Lesnar. And the reason this match went on first and not last, I'm sure this would have went on last had ESPN not meddled in the decision making for WWE and told them, hey, we want to see your world title be the main event. They wanted to see Cody defend at the main event as the last match. They didn't want to, like, the marquee was Brock Lesnar and John Cena, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they rely on their legends more so than they probably should to be their marquee matches, as opposed to like what AEW does, which, yes, they have legends, but unless there's a good reason for it, they are not the marquee match of the night. It's the younger talent they're elevating, they're putting up as their champions or as main event leveled stars. And I think that's also why, obviously, it's like, I see what this lineup is compared to an AEW lineup, and I'm like, yeah, I was already more interested in All Out before the weekend, and then it's like, oh my god, like, why? Like, is like Brock Lesnar and John Cena was the main event I saw like over 10 years ago. But why are we having this match again? Like, and they had almost I wouldn't say the same exact match, but it was kind of paced the same way, where Lesnar just dominated John Cena. It's like, why did we do this? And I was hoping for a bigger payoff. But now their sources claiming that they're just moving on. And it's like, what was the point? Why'd we do this? I don't understand why this was on the pay-per-view if you're not going to do something to elevate Lesnar. Or if you're not going to do something to where John Cena has his last match against Lesnar and actually decides and beats Brock Lesnar for his final match. And they like hug it out. Like, if this led up to Cena's last match being Lesnar, I would be okay with this match. Seriously, be okay with it. But from what I've heard, it's not going to be. I mean, we're all gonna possibly get AJ Styles versus John Cena for the next John Cena match, which people have been clamoring and hoping to get, which is good. Cool. We're finally getting that, but like, why did we go ahead with this match? What was the point? And yeah, the booking decisions in WWE sometimes are starting to get a little more influenced by outside factors that more and more as the months go by, and it's getting a little too annoying for my taste. And I could talk about that at another point in time, but I think the last point I want to move on is I was mentioning how WWE didn't do anything spectacular. There was nothing, no like you could have not watched the show and just caught a highlight or two and been like, oh, okay, glad I didn't watch this show. They gave you no reason to make you feel like it was must see television. No reason. And that was the biggest reason why I didn't go to Hannah and be like, hey, do you want to activate your ESPN Plus right now, please? No, there was no reason that I was even remotely interested in, getting any subscription to watch this show. They gave like there was no surprises, there was no twists, there was nothing interesting happened on this show that you couldn't already predict and already assumed would happen. And it was just like, and this is a lot of the complaint of Triple H booking on bigger shows. Is like, can we just please see something interesting when we watch a bigger show? It's like, come on. But yeah, I digress. At least with some of the at least some of the interesting stuff with AEW. Like I said, there were swerves. I wouldn't say there were swerves, but a lot of returns. There were some interesting things that you wouldn't normally see on the show, like even on Dynamite or Collision. There was stuff you wouldn't see on there that you saw at the pay-per-view. And that's why I like watching an AEW show, because they make sure what you see on that show would feel different from a Dynamite or a Collision weekly show. And that's what makes those shows sell. Now, I don't know. I don't keep up with the business statistics and how well they're growing, their viewership and all that. So if you're looking for information like that, I obviously would research that or listen to some other podcast or whatever, but that keep up with that. But overall, like I've been loving the trend of AEW pay-per-views. They've been grabbing my attention more as a fan. I'm not saying their booking's 100% great. And sometimes with some booking, sometimes it could be predictable, but at least the show leading up to the booking was interesting enough to where it was a fun watch. WWE's booking is getting way too predictable, and the it's getting to the point where what I'm watching leading up to it is not even worth wasting my time on. So if you're gonna have two different programs but predictable booking, I'm obviously gonna lean towards the one that has a more interesting a more interesting build and a more interesting like lead up to the finale, which I've already figured was gonna happen, but at least you're giving me something, you know, give me something to digest along the way, where WWE has not been doing that. And it's a shame. So, but those were some of my thoughts overall. Um, will I do this in the future? I have no idea. Like I said, I've been wanting to do some wrestling reviews in the past, and I've just been, based on how life is now, it's just been so hard for me to sit down and write down my thoughts and reviews on shows I watch, and I yeah, just haven't had the time. And I figure if I do this now for, well, I guess I've been going for well over an hour, like 80 minutes now, talking about wrestling. Yeah, I kind of figured, well, if I could like condense like writing about two whole shows into one little video package here and talk to you guys about it, it'd be worth it. Mind you, if I keep doing this, I will develop a formatting that will be a little bit better as we go along. I just kind of wanted to sit down, get this out there, and kind of just talk about pro wrestling as a fan and what I've been hoping, um, or what I've been trying to like um, kind of present and explain what I've been looking at, what I've been seeing to all of you, and You know, at the end of the day, it's an awesome, pro wrestling is an awesome art. I want to be able to enjoy it. I want all you to be able to enjoy it, but you shouldn't be price point out of enjoying it. You shouldn't be um, being told to eat shit and be told, but that shit is better than this shit. No, there should be good pro wrestling, and I am hoping that we will have more times than not of good pro wrestling. But like for this past weekend, one program clearly had some enjoyable wrestling. One program clearly did not have enjoyable wrestling. I'll leave it there. Um, for those of you who don't know, I'm Christian Kool. I have my own Twitch channel at uh, Christian Kool at Twitch. Um, and yeah, this will also be posted on my YouTube, which is also Christian Kool on YouTube. So I will also post this in other Discords and other pro wrestling little communities that I am a part of. So hopefully y'all enjoy yourself and you know, was it kick names, take ass? There we go. See y'all guys.